Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's time for another flea market finds episode. This is the October 25th outing, the outdoor flea market, and it actually ended up being the last time that I went to this flea market this year. This flea market was actually scheduled to have 2 more weeks of 2 more weekends, but when I went on the 25th, I did get some deals, but there were a lot less dealers there. It was clear that a lot of dealers had decided to already pack it up for the year and not come back. And then that following weekend, I was going to be in the I was going to be at another outdoor swap meet, a big one, and I wanted to attend that, and that's going to be coming up. And then that ends up being like the last hurrah, the last outing of outdoor flea markets and swap meets for the year. With the COVID situation, we had a lot fewer things going on than we normally do. So unfortunately, it was not the greatest year for picking. But let's dive right into it. I think this is going to be a 2-part episode. I think what I'm going to do is there's an unusual item that I picked up at the flea market this trip, and I think I want to cover that in more depth in part 2. It's something completely out of my wheelhouse, out of my comfort range, but I bought it real cheap and figured I'd take a chance on it. And I want to talk about what I ended up learning in this experience. All right, so the first buy of the day was a dealer that I had frequented often, bought all kinds of weird stuff from him. He's the guy who, the first time I went out to this flea market, I ended up buying the Clipper belt lacer from him. So he gets, I think, a lot of his stuff for next to nothing as clean out. And he had a couple of these large air filter assemblies for tractors. The other one was yellow, and I couldn't find any markings on it to identify what it was. This one, being blue, clearly is a Ford, and as if there was any other proof needed, there's still a sticker on here. I do believe it is used. Pretty sure, I opened it up to make sure it wasn't rusted. Sometimes these pans get rusted out. But this actually looks really nice and clean inside, relatively speaking. So there's a dead wasp in there. Anyways, see how clean that is? So I figured I'd take a chance on this. I figured this would be a good resale item. I don't have a tractor that, the Oliver's already got one on there, so I don't need it for that. But anyways, I'd love to be able to identify what this came out of. It has to be a good-sized tractor, judging by the size of the housing. I can't make out the part numbers completely faded away on that sticker. But anyways, I asked him how much he'd take for this. He said $10. The irony being, somebody had used a Sharpie and put a price on here of $5. But he wasn't going for that. Clearly, that was a price that was put on there by the previous guy who had it, or maybe it was sitting on a shelf somewhere, and some farm store was going to blow it out for $5. I don't know, but I couldn't get him to take less than the 10. I figured for $10 though, I think I can do all right on this. I think I could probably get 30 or 40 bucks for this thing. Maybe even more if I'm willing to ship it on eBay, So, anyways, there's that. Well, it looks like this might remain a mystery unless one of you guys can tell me what this thing belongs to. Because I searched for Ford air filter assemblies, and I could find a ton of them online. But almost every single one of them of this style that has the, the piping set up this way with this style of oil bath, almost every single one of them has almost the same type of mounting brackets, which are more like a web on each side. This has a bracket like this on one side, and 180 degrees opposite of it, another bracket. So the way that this mounts is quite a bit different than the majority of the ones that I'm finding online. So I don't know if I'm ever going to figure out who made this thing. Well, anyways. Next item I picked was one of those ladies that must do cleanouts and stuff, or is cleaning out her house, getting rid of stuff because as the prices were, nothing was priced, and it was just like she was like yelling out to people to come over and pick through the junk. So I spotted this Craftsman, genuine Craftsman miter gauge. This looks just like the miter gauge I had on my old 10-inch Craftsman contractor saw that I sold. This is all metal except for the handle right here. So it's actually a decent quality build. And I figured since she was so cheap, I said I'd give you $1 for this, and she took $1 for it. So if this fits the groove on my Delta Unisaw, I picked up that Unisaw a while back that I intend to fix up for myself, and didn't come with one, so I'll hold on to this, and if I can't use it in that saw, I'll probably just throw it on eBay, because I'm sure I can get more than $1 for this on eBay. I'm pretty sure. Then I hit the dealer that I actually had hit the previous weekend and bought a pretty good sized load of Machinist tools off of, and went through some stuff he had brought in that he didn't have last time, and I spotted this Greenfield Tap and Die number 7. You know, it looks like it probably had a pretty rough life and then somebody cleaned it, but I mean, look at all the marks on this handle. But you know, it's still very serviceable, and that's a nice one, because it's the big, fairly big. You know, everything's relative, especially in machine shops. But I don't have my tape measure handy, but I think that, oh, here it is right here. You know, this is like a 19-inch overall length on this tap wrench. I ended up getting all 4 of these items here, bundling them together and getting them for $45. He had 18 on this tap wrench. This is a full ball type small hole gauge set made in Japan. So it's an import, but it's not complete Chinese import quality. It's a little bit better than that. And it is a 4-piece set. And they look brand new. So that's actually pretty decent. What do you have on the? I don't even remember what he had on these for. Oh yeah, right here. $10 he had on these. I figured these were worth the $10. And then he had this set for $15. This is also an import. These are, I don't think, marked at all. Yeah, these have no markings whatsoever on the pouch or anywhere other than the letters to tell you what letter it is to correspond to the chart here. All right. So you have 15 on these. And then another set here, he had 20 on these. You probably figured these were new unused. These parts have been oiled, used before. So these are interesting because these are marked on the pouch, made in USA. I've run into this before where they're marked made in USA, but we don't know who really made them. And they usually end up being like Fowler or something. So we don't know who made these. Yeah, these are sticky from, there we go. A little sticky from never being used. It could be disassembled, cleaned with a little solvent, put together with a little light machine oil, and they'll be good as new. And these are brand new old stock. You can tell just by looking at them. So what do we got? 20, 35, 45, 55, 60, $63. And he came down to 45. So I did all right there. And then he told me, he says, hey, I have some more stuff I'm going to be putting out because it was still early. And I told him I'd come right back because he told me he had some micrometers and stuff that were really nice. Whatever, we ended up cutting a deal on those, and those will be featured a little later in this episode. Well, next item I bought was yet another item that preys on my weakness for CB radio stuff. This is a Micrometer, which is the Radio Shack store brand, SWR / watt meter and antenna switch in one. So I thought that was kind of interesting. It had the antenna switch built into it, and guy had $1 on it, so I gave him the $1. So it looks like, I'm sorry, this isn't a watt meter. This is strictly an SWR meter. It's an SWR meter with an antenna switch built in for $1. No idea if it works. Then in another dealer, you know, I've talked about in the past, I got to stop buying mobile CB radios, but then I saw this. And I was like, okay, so what do we have here? So this is a Cobra Model 29 LTD. Pretty common radio, okay? But it's the Army edition. So it's kind of cool, I thought, you know? It's got a funky looking microphone. I don't think the stock bike looked like this. Maybe it did, I don't know. Obviously the color is different because of the U.S. Army edition. So here's the thing on this. This was sitting there. It clearly looked like it had just been taken out of a vehicle because it was sitting there and it was still hooked up to a mag mount antenna. Or the antenna and everything was with it, so it was just a pile. And I said, what do you want for the radio? He said, oh, it's got the antenna and this and that. You know, he's big time talking it up and everything. And he says, $20. So I said, I tell you what, I have no interest in the antenna. I'll give you 10 for the radio. He said, yeah, sure. So I got this for $10. Had no idea what the value was on it. And turns out, apparently, this has got some collectability to it. I found these on eBay, having sold for around $100 in good working condition. I haven't tested this radio yet. I have no idea. But, you know, I think that was a good buy at $10, even if it's a parts radio, as long as it's not butchered inside. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if this was just taken out of a vehicle and is a working radio. So this next item I actually spotted at another dealer's table earlier on, and then as I was walking around, they kept bothering me that I didn't buy it. And so I ended up actually walking all the way back like 4 rows, quite a ways, to get back to this dealer's spot and give him the buck or whatever it was that he wanted for this thing. Again, talking about the weakness for the CB related stuff. So this, believe it or not, is Cologne. This is an Avon bottle. Avon was known for back in the day having a whole line of different figurative bottles in all different subject matters that they would put some stinky cologne in and sell. And it actually became, oh, I can smell that already. Oh. Actually became a collectible. Avon bottles themselves are collectible. I think they may have waned in popularity, like many of the things that, they go in and out of fashion. But I just had to have this because I'm big into the CB, vintage CB stuff, and I thought, wow, this had to have come out probably back when CB was in its heyday, back in the 70s. So this has probably been around a while. Seems to be in pretty decent shape. It's clearly marked on the bottom. I haven't even looked up the value on this yet, but I thought this would appeal to Avon bottle collectives if there are still any out there, but it would also appeal to anybody who's into vintage CB. And quite frankly, it kind of appeals to me, so I may end up just keeping it. I don't know. Yeah, it's pretty much not worth really anything to anybody for the most part. Right now, there's one, the cheapest one is available for $5 or best offer plus $5 shipping. But then when you look at sold, cheapest one sold for $2.10 with $4.70 shipping. So that's $6.80 total. There's one half full with the box for $4 and $4.75 shipping. Here's somebody got one brand new for $15 with free shipping. So yeah, looks like that's just going to be something I'll probably have to hold on to as a novelty. It'll look wonderful sitting on someone's someone's Radio Shack. So then I went back to the guy that I bought the hole gauges and the tap and die, the tap wrench and the hole gauges and that, and checked to see what he had put out. One of the things he had put out was this best test, round and sharp. I've got a lot of these now. I actually need to sell more of them. So this one's, serviceable, but it's a little beat up. But it works perfectly fine. It's .0005, so it's a half thou indicator. The model 7034-5. He wanted 30 bucks for it. I ended up getting him to take 20. Was I had buttered him up because I had just dropped 200 on the items that he said that he would put out, and that I said I would come back and take a look at. And so this is what he had there. So it appears all these Brown & Sharps appear to be new old stock. I don't think they've ever been used. So these are all micrometers. So it ended up working out to be, I paid 40 bucks a piece for these. So, well, case in point, this one is still taped shut with the original old tape. So we've got the Brown & Sharp instruction booklet. I believe these are all tenths. So they all have verniers on them. They're all .0001 resolution. I haven't yet decided if I'm going to be keeping these or selling them. I'm most likely going to sell them. They've got the anti-corrosive paper in there. They've got the light film of the packing oil still on there. These are absolutely brand new, without a doubt. So for some reason he had two 4-inches, one 1-inch. These are all 599 dash, like this. The 1-inch is a 599-1-44. The 4 inches are 599-4-44. So the middle number is the size, and this is a 599-6-44. So this is the 6-inch version. This one isn't as packed away as the others, so this one may have been used. Although if it has been used, it's been barely used. But there is a blemish here, interestingly enough, on the frame. So we got a little spot right here where the coating has bubbled and cracked. Only in that one spot though. But it wouldn't take much to accidentally pop that off and have a really nasty looking blemish there. These are carbide faces on these. It's a lot harder to see on these than it is on the Starretts because the layer, the thickness of the carbide is a lot thinner on these Brown & Sharps. Yeah, so I got these, like I said, I got these 4 Brown & Sharp micrometers, and then there was this one 436P-6, so that's going to be an outside micrometer Starrett. This also appears to be brand new. Got the original paperwork in there, the micrometer wrench. Yeah, this is brand new also. So the only thing that kind of stinks about this is that it's a pretty plain Jane model. It's a .001 6-inch. It does have, well, looks like it does have carbide faces. No, maybe not. I'll have to look it up. I don't think it is. So yeah, this doesn't even have a lock. So this is a really plain version. So yeah, I don't know how the heck. So you know, I probably should consider that I'm into this for maybe like 30, and so then I got to be into these other ones for 42.50 a piece. Is that how the math works out? I don't know. I'm not going to worry about it. Sure, they'll sell eventually if I decide not to keep any of them. All right, so am I missing anything? All right, guys, so I am going to call this part 1 done right here. Part 2 is going to consist of the one item that when I bought that Cobra CB radio, I saw sitting there on the ground at this guy's spot. And I didn't even bother asking about it because I just thought, it's going to be some kind of crazy money. And when I went back later, a lot of people were looking at it, you know, and then not buying it. So finally, I asked the guy. I said, what do you take for that? I don't remember exactly if I made him an offer or what, but I ended up getting this thing for 10 bucks. And when you see it, you're going to see why I thought it was a no-brainer to take it for 10 bucks, even though it's a bit of a train wreck. So part 2 of this series is going to be all about this mystery item. So I hope you come back and join me to see what the heck I got into now.